Welcome to She is Resilient, a podcast for women on their healing journeys who are ready to start living their most authentic and empowered lives outside of survival mode. I'm your host, Tatiana, trauma and somatic therapist, as well as a holistic coach, and I'm on a mission to help more women heal their nervous systems. Each week, me and my guests are going to get real and vulnerable about the experiences that led us to becoming the empowered and resilient women we are today. You'll leave this podcast with the skills, knowledge, and inspiration to start creating the life you deserve. Because if another woman can do it, so can you. Hello, and welcome back to my first episode after 6 months of taking a little hiatus. Whew. I honestly don't even know where to begin, but the first thing that I want to say is that I have missed you so much, and I'm really glad to be back here on the podcast with you. Thank you for your patience with me, and thank you for still being here and listening. I know that some of you have been wondering where I've been, and I know that some of you have even emailed me to check in and ask how I was doing. And I just want to say that means a lot to me. I really want you to know that I appreciate every single one of you that has reached out. Those messages genuinely reminded me of what I love doing and why I do this work. So thank you for reaching out even while I was quiet on the podcast. So, where have I been? Let's just start from the beginning. If you don't know, if you're a newer listener, I have been a therapist for about 10 years now, and I've been in private practice for 5 of those years. And so overall, private practice has been successful, but running a business is really hard, especially when you don't have a team, which I don't. I've been a one-woman show this entire time. I've been doing the marketing, the admin, the billing, the systems, and of course, all of the clinical work. And that's a lot for one person. So this past year, business became a lot slower, and a big part of that was because I left social media last February, which had been my main source of marketing. Also, I can't believe it's been an entire year since I've been off social media, and honestly, I don't miss it one bit. It's been amazing being off social media. So, if you don't know, after the election and everything that's been happening politically, I had made the decision that I didn't want to be on social media anymore. And if you want the full story, you can listen to episode 71, where I talk about why I left Instagram. But without that visibility, plus the current economy, I was struggling to get clients into my business. And the reality is, I have real adult responsibilities. I have student loans from undergrad and grad school. I've got bills to pay. I've got financial goals. And I have personal goals like Marcin and I want to start a family soon. And so all of that led me to a decision that I resisted so much, which was getting a job. And I hate saying that out loud because I know how privileged it sounds, but I really did have a hard time with that because for 5 years, I created a life where I could wake up slowly, have quiet mornings, make my own schedule, and not report to anyone. And giving that up felt really scary. But the truth is that eventually I had to put all of that aside. I had to put my resistance to the side, put my fears to the side, my anxiety, and truthfully, I had to put my ego to the side and ask myself what was actually best for future me. And the answer was very clear. So I ended up accepting a position at a psychiatric hospital. And it was interesting. I realized that I actually enjoyed waking up early and having structure again, which I didn't really have structure when I was working for myself. I had somewhat of a structure, but I had the flexibility and the privilege to wake up whenever I wanted and, like I said, create my own schedule. But yeah, when I started this job, I loved the work and I met some really amazing people. And a few months later, I got promoted and I became lead clinician and I became a supervisor. And truthfully, I only accepted the promotion because I genuinely wanted to support other clinicians and I wanted to make a difference in the environment. But I realized very, very quickly that I could only do so much in a toxic environment. And I didn't want to stay somewhere that was starting to affect my mental health just to fix the toxic systems that probably weren't going to change. So after 6 months, I quit. And now I'm waiting to start a new position that already feels much healthier and much more aligned. And I'm really looking forward to that because that's what I want. I want to be able to go to work and feel like I'm making a difference, feel like I'm making an impact. I want to love what I do and I want to be surrounded by other people who are healthy and who want the same thing. And I want to be surrounded by others who just want to see each other grow and win. And that's hopefully what I'm going to be doing in my new job. And so I'll keep you posted about what that new job is once I get settled in. I'm sure I'll talk more about it. And as much as I could honestly go on a rant on how toxic this past environment was, instead, I want to share with you what I learned in these last 6 months. And one of the biggest things that I realized is how much I've actually changed. Because even though I know that logically being self-employed for 5 years meant that I wasn't really in environments that reflected my growth back to me, if that makes sense. But in this job, I was able to notice that I was showing up without anxiety when in the past my anxiety would completely shape how I spoke, how I sounded, and even how my voice came out. This time, when I was in meetings, I felt steady, I felt confident, I felt like myself. And that was new in a really meaningful way to me. Another thing that became really clear is that I really am a natural leader, and people have told me this for years, but I don't think that I had the capacity to believe it before. This time, I could actually feel it. I could see how people responded to me, and I started to understand something deeper, which is that sometimes it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. I had a supervisor years ago who would always tell me that it's not what you do, it's who you are. And now I find myself telling other people that. And I finally understand what she meant when she would say that to me, right? Because sometimes someone's presence and energy or natural way of being is what makes them impactful, not just their actions. And that realization landed much deeper for me during this experience, which was really nice. Something else that was really validating for me is how much people truly need this work. I was working with a completely different population, many of whom had never heard of somatic healing or nervous system regulation, and I found myself going back to the basics and explaining their symptoms through a body-based lens, and I loved it. It reignited my passion in a way that I didn't expect. Especially with everything happening in our country right now, it feels even more important to bring this work into spaces where people might not otherwise have access to it. And that's part of why I'll be returning to community mental health in my next role, which I'm really, really excited about. I also realized how much I missed daily human connection. And part of me is like, duh, we all need human connection. We are humans, we're wired for connection. And I'm definitely an introvert, and you know that I love quiet and I love alone time, but there's something really meaningful about seeing the same people every day and building those relationships and being known in small ways. Like, I forgot how much that mattered to me, and I love that I'll have the opportunity to continue to do that. Like, I am still in touch with my former coworkers, and we're still chatting on a regular basis, and I love that I had that opportunity to build new relationships and make new friendships. And then I guess the last thing that I learned throughout this experience was I really enjoy having a stable and consistent paycheck. As a business owner, my income fluctuates. So there are high months and there are low months, and that unpredictability can sometimes be stressful. And right now in my life, with student loans, financial goals, and wanting to start a family, stability makes sense. And I've finally made peace with that. As much as I love private practice and I loved being a business owner full time, and as much as I resisted, I've come to accept that this is what I need in this stage of life. And I feel good about it. So because of all of these transitions, I've made some changes in my private practice. I'm now only offering sessions on the weekends. I also had to give up my office space. If I saw you in person in Franklin, Massachusetts, I had to give up that space because, again, financially, it just didn't make sense to keep paying for it when I wasn't using the office. And that decision was also really hard and very emotional because I had worked so hard to create a beautiful and safe environment, but it was also necessary. And I know that one day in the future, I'll be able to do that again, just not now. So I am still seeing clients, but I'm only seeing clients through telehealth and on the weekends only. On another note, one exciting thing that happened during this time is that I became trained in brain spotting, which is another trauma healing modality that's very similar to somatic experiencing. So now you have the option to book a somatic experiencing session, a brain spotting session, or a combination of both. And I will definitely record a separate episode explaining brain spotting more in depth so that you can get a better understanding of it. So that's all the work and professional updates. For now, outside of work, life continues to be pretty simple. Marcin and I are still laughing every day. He's doing his little home projects. Turkey and Saturn are doing great. And like I said, we have been thinking more and more about family planning. So that's pretty much it. As far as the podcast goes, I want to be honest that I may not be able to return to weekly episodes like before, but the podcast isn't going anywhere. There may just be some space in between episodes, and that's okay. The next 2 episodes I already know I'll be releasing are a body scan meditation and a progressive muscle relaxation because those have been the biggest requests from the people that I've been working with, and I want to keep that promise. So stay on the lookout for that. But that's what I've been up to the last 6 months. A lot of transition, a lot of fear, sadness, and uncertainty, and also a lot of growth, resilience, and clarity. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much, always. And if you want to stay more in touch, you can always comment on this episode or send me an email. I know some of you have already done that, but please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Alrighty, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you absolutely loved this episode, I would so appreciate it if you subscribed and left a review on Apple Podcast, or take a screenshot and share this episode on social media. The more nervous systems we reach, the more generational cycles we break, and the more we contribute to a kinder and safer world. And if you're looking for somatic healing services, send me a DM and I'd love to chat on how I can support you. I'll see you in the next episode.